So you want to write a book, eh? Because that will make you rich and famous, right? Wrong. It's time for a dose of reality. Rich and famous and writing. That's what we're going to talk about today. I could say I don't want to throw cold water on your dream of being a rich and famous writer, but I'd be lying. I do want to douse that notion, nip it in the bud, head you off at the pass. You know why? Because I care about writers and about publishing and about books. I care about quality. Anyway, here goes. Did you know that writers are among the worst paid workers in the world? And don't give me that BS about how you know that person online who made a fortune selling half-baked ebooks. And what's more, he puts one out every 2 weeks. Yes, he probably does make money. There's a sucker born every minute, they say. And he has found more than his share. But you know, the likelihood of it happening to you is so remote, is to be laughable. Okay, according to a survey conducted by Digital Book World, 20% of both self-published and traditionally published authors make no money at all. Zero, zilch. And of course, 90% of aspiring authors make nothing. Let's look at the chart. The blue on the chart signifies no income, nothing. The chartreuse represents an annual income between $1 and $999. So, if you look at it, almost 80% of self-published authors and about 55% of traditionally published authors make under $1,000 a year. Well, what about those wildly successful authors? See that tiny sliver of green? That, ladies and gentlemen, represents the J.K. Rowlings, the Michael Connollys, and the Stephen Kings of the world. And the truth is, there aren't very many of these. They are rare birds indeed. Only 0.7% of self-published writers and 1.3% of traditionally published writers make more than $100,000 a year. Let's look a little further. In 2018, the Authors Guild, a professional organization for writers in the U.S., conducted an extensive survey, finally reporting that the median annual income for full-time writers was just over $20,000 annually. That's below the poverty level, by the way. And then if you factor in part-time writers, the median income plummets to a measly $6,080 annually. And if you think this is because that was a few years ago, consider this. Those figures in 2018 represented a 42% drop in median income since 2009. A drop. Here's a sobering thought. Did you know that most self-published authors sell fewer than 100 books? When you consider that this is the average, and it has to be said there are a few phenomenally successful among this group, this means that many, if not most of these books sell fewer than 10 or so copies. Wow, impressed? Here's another bit of food for thought. The average self-published author makes less than $1,000 a year. And given the few best-selling authors, this works out to pennies per year for most authors. Most writers write because that's who they are, not to make money, clearly. The general consensus of opinion is that you shouldn't give up your day job. Not now, and the odds are you never can. Anyway, if these numbers and the odds are good enough for you, go for it. You'll probably not make any money writing, unless of course you do. So, what about famous? Do you want to be famous? You want the world to know your name? Not going to happen. First, what does it mean to be famous? Well, I always look at a dictionary, and the dictionary says it means to be widely known and to be esteemed. Although, to be truthful, I'm not so sure you need to be esteemed these days to be famous. But when writers want to be famous, they generally do want to be held in high esteem so that people will buy their books, or at least talk about them, unless your book is high profile and controversial. In general, though, let's conclude that a famous writer is one whose name is widely known. Most sources suggest that there are fewer than 10 or 20 authors that the average person can name. J.K. Rowling comes immediately to mind, and maybe that one who wrote 50 Shades of Something, whose name escapes me. See, what did I tell you? Oh, you say, what about Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald? Do you know what they have in common? They're dead. Yes, most famous authors are dead. Maybe you'll be famous when you die. Nope, you're not likely to become either rich or famous by writing a book, so I'd suggest keeping your day job. On the other hand, if you just want to write, go for it. Really go for it. Maybe wealth and fame will find you, and that's the way to do it. If you're still with me and you still want to write a book, come along with me for the rest of this video series, and together we'll learn more about the realities of writing and publishing, and maybe I'll give you a bit of mentorly advice along the way. My own writing journey began with a serious dose of traditional publishing, followed by a soupçon of self-publishing. So I've come by this insight the hard way. Maybe you won't have to. If you still want to write a book by the end, then you're probably meant to do it, and you should. A word of advice, though. If you really want to be a writer, stop telling other people that, and just write. Subscribe to the channel and come along with me on this journey. See you next time.